chat about it. Okay, are we still friends?
Yeah, we're good, we're good.
So you see, it's all good, guys. Chill out.
Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka are fierce competitors on the court, but off the court, they're absolute comedy gold. From Sabalenka's ridiculous celebrations to Gauff's perfectly timed reactions, these two have given us moments that are way more entertaining than they probably intended. Some of their funniest incidents happened when they weren't even trying to be funny, which makes them even better. Which tennis player do you think has the better sense of humor, Coco Gauff or Aryna Sabalenka?
Thank you.
Since you really don't know where to start with this woman, let's start with Aryna Sabalenka. She is one of the strongest tennis players, a Grand Slam champion, and a person who celebrates every time she scores a point as if she had won the jackpot. Her screams were so loud and intense that they were definitely audible from space. There's a sound effect in every shot that makes you question if she's trying out for a heavy metal band or playing tennis. Her grunt isn't really a grunt. Anyone within 3 miles would be intimidated by this full-fledged battle cry. The best thing about Sabalenka's yelling is that she doesn't appear to realize how absurd it sounds. She simply puts forth her best effort and lets everyone in the stadium know how she feels about each and every ball she hits. There was a match where the commentators had to essentially apologize to the audience for her loudness since they were receiving complaints about the broadcast. That's not typical. While most musicians play loudly, Sabalenka elevates it to a degree that verges on performance art. And then there are her festivities. Sabalenka does more than just shout or pump her fist when she wins a significant point or a pivotal game. No, she becomes quite dramatic. She stomped about the court as if she had just conquered a tiny country, her arms spread wide, yelling at the sky as if she were calling up ancient powers. When she won her maiden Grand Slam at the 2023 Australian Open, her celebration was so extravagant that many really questioned whether she was okay or if she was experiencing an emotional breakdown. It turns out that she was simply ecstatic.
Help you hit the ball harder.
It just helps me with like this fighting spirit. Whenever like I grunt, I'm ready to get the point. I don't know why I started. I think there was like one girl in the group, in the older group, and I thought it's so cute the way she was grunting, but hers was actually cute. Mine was like just loud, but it's all about like how you feel. If you feel that better with like, you know, letting it go, then go for it, because I think like there is like an extra power and energy in that. If you like feel like you're losing a lot of energy, then you shouldn't do it. It all depends like how you feel.
One of the funniest Sabalenka moments was during a press conference where she was asked about her screaming. The reporter tried to be diplomatic about it, asking if she was aware of how loud she gets during matches. Sabalenka's response was basically, "Yeah, I know. What are you going to do about it?" She wasn't apologetic or embarrassed. She owned it completely. She basically said that's how she plays. That's how she releases energy. And if people don't like it, they can watch a different match.
Hello everybody! It's going to be a fun video.
In a strange sense, that degree of self-assurance and being completely ridiculous is admirable. Additionally, Sabalenka once had an insect fly close to her face when she was conducting an interview. Her response was one of absolute terror. This woman lost her mind over a small insect. She yells loud enough to wake the dead and hits tennis balls at speeds that could hurt someone. The interview had to stop as she gathered herself after she leaped back and wildly waved her arms. It was hilarious to see the juxtaposition between her fierce, combative on-court attitude and her actual fear of a bug. For weeks, fans created memes about it. Let's now discuss Coco Gauff, who infuses tennis with an entirely new kind of humor. Sabalenka is boisterous and disorderly, whereas Gauff focuses more on timing, reactions, and saying things that are inadvertently funny due to their honesty.
We're laughing a little bit at 5-1 in that second set. Could you cue us into what was so funny?
Oh, I thought the match was over.
I hit like a great return and I like went for a hug and Jess was like going away from me. And I was like, damn, like what did I do? And then I realized that the match wasn't over. She's like, what's the score? And I was like, oh, there was no game set match. So yeah, that was me, my mess up. We were playing so good, so I thought it was over.
She has this way of being completely straightforward that catches people off guard. She'll say things in interviews that most players would filter or sugarcoat, but she just puts it out there with a straight face.
About the Miami Heat.
Yes, Heat in 7 and maybe Coco in 7.
One classic golf moment was when she was asked about playing in extreme heat during a tournament. Most players would give some diplomatic answer about staying hydrated and managing conditions. Gauff just said, "It's hot. I hate it. This is terrible." Her face while saying it was completely deadpan, like she couldn't believe she was expected to play tennis in what felt like the surface of the sun. The honesty was refreshing and funny because everyone watching was thinking the exact same thing, but she was the only one who actually said it. Well, she sees the funny side of that. That's when you say, "Good eye, Coco."
See the funny side of that. That's when you say, "Good eye, Coco." Well, she sees the funny side of that. That's when you say, "Good eye, Coco." Great lead. She tried. That's a nice reaction.
Gauff also has this habit of making faces during matches that get caught on camera and turn into instant memes. There was a match where a call went against her that was clearly wrong, and her expression was just pure disbelief. Not angry, not argumentative, just this look of, "Are you kidding me right now?" right? That perfectly captured what everyone watching was thinking. Those kinds of reactions make her relatable because she's responding to situations the same way fans would if they were on the court.
Coco Gauff, nothing easy about that match. Describe what it was like to play it.
Slow. No,
Additionally, she has a relationship with social media that has led to some truly humorous incidents. Gauff uses social media sites like Instagram and TikTok. Additionally, she doesn't hesitate to make fun of herself after losing a match in which she performed very poorly. She made fun of her own serving difficulties in a video and wrote that she needed to practice more in the caption. Despite being one of the greatest players in the world, Gauff doesn't take herself too seriously. Most elite athletes wouldn't publicly admit their flaws or make jokes about them. In fact, one of the most amusing exchanges between Gauff and Sabalenka took place on social media. In an attempt to convey this terrifying champion energy, she shared a picture of herself looking ferocious and intense during a battle. "Why do you look like you're about to fight someone in a parking lot?" was Gauff's response. Even Sabalenka had to chuckle at the observation because it was so arbitrary yet true. These two have mutual respect and a sense of humor about the rivalry, as evidenced by their ability to play aggressively on the court and then joke about it online. In the final of the 2023 US Open, Gauff scored a point with a stroke that even she was astonished by. She looked at her racket as if it had betrayed her by unintentionally accomplishing something wonderful, and her initial reaction was shock. It was hilarious how confused she was for a moment before realizing she should be happy. Professional athletes rarely show true astonishment at their own accomplishments, but Gauff's expression at that precise moment was priceless. "Wait, what just happened?" was followed by, "Oh, right. In roughly 2 seconds, I should feel pleased about it." Sabalenka's total incapacity to control her emotions during games has also provided us with some excellent content. Everyone can tell when she's frustrated. Everyone can tell when she's happy. There was absolutely no poker face. "What am I supposed to do about this?" was the apparent expression on her face as she looked at the coaching box during a match where she was having trouble with her serve, a problem that has plagued her throughout her career. Her instructors simply shrugged back, and it was amusing how blatantly powerless the encounter was. They are essentially talking through frustrated facial expressions, yet they are meant to be elite experts with strategies and game plans. Sabalenka and her supporters have really found dark humor in the current issues. People began maintaining running counts throughout games since she was double faulting so much at one point. Sabalenka acknowledged it in interviews with a kind of weary humor rather than becoming defensive. "Yeah, the serve. I know. We're working on it. Do you want me to say anything else?" It was the sporting equivalent of, "It is what it is." And for some reason, it was funnier to see and less terrible when she accepted her own haphazard serving. Gauff has also experienced mechanical difficulties, especially with her forehand, which opponents have targeted. However, she has responded to it with unexpected comedy. She essentially stated, "Yeah, everyone knows my forehand is bad. I'm not trying to make it seem good. We're working to make it right." That degree of self-awareness and readiness to admit glaring flaws without becoming defensive is encouraging. Gauff simply accepts it and moves on, while most players would dance around it or offer justifications. Additionally, Gauff was questioned about the pressure of being viewed as the future of American tennis during a news conference. "I mean, there are other American players too. Why am I responsible for everything?" She wasn't being impolite, rather, she was genuinely perplexed as to why she seems to be the only young American athlete with promise. It was amusing and demonstrated that she is aware of how she is portrayed in the media when she resisted the narrative rather than simply accepting the compliments. Inadvertent humor has also arisen from Sabalenka's English. She doesn't speak English as her first language, so occasionally, when she tries to communicate in English during interviews, she ends up saying things that are technically accurate, but sound very strange. She said something that approximately translated to, "I am like a lion, but also sometimes like a scared cat," during an interview when attempting to explain her mental approach to tennis. In fact, her playing style perfectly captures the mix of ferocious and scared cat spirit. However, the way she put it was so strange that it quickly became a meme. When these two ran into each other in the player dining area during a tournament, it was one of their best moments. A video was captured of Sabalenka completely ruining a plate of pasta, and Gauff was shown to be worried. It seems like Gauff asked, "Are you okay?" Sabalenka was eating as if she hadn't eaten in weeks. Sabalenka just raised her head, nodded, and continued to eat. It was almost funny how casual the exchange was and how devoted Sabalenka was to her dinner. These are professional athletes who should be closely monitoring their diet, and as the other looks on in awe, one of them is consuming carbohydrates like there was no tomorrow. Gauff's responses to winning significant matches are especially fascinating since she always seems nearly taken aback. Even though she has defeated elite players and won big trophies, she always has a look of genuine bewilderment on her face after she triumphs. When she achieved her first Grand Slam at the US Open, her initial response was not of pure joy. She covered her face with her hands as if she was contemplating what had just transpired after giving a look of shock. The celebration didn't start for a few seconds. Even then, it wasn't as loud as some players' reactions to winning majors. Compare that to Sabalenka's victory at the Australian Open, where she screamed and fell to the ground. Ryder began running around the court, yelling at everyone and nobody at the same time. Both of them are entertaining in their own unique ways and have quite different personalities and ways of showing joy. The controlled surprise is Gauff. The insane explosion is Sabalenka. Both approaches are effective and provide fans with excellent content. These two's wardrobe choices have also led to some amusing incidents. Gauff typically dresses in professional, unobtrusive tennis attire. On the other hand, Sabalenka has appeared at games in attire that led some to wonder if she was dressed in the dark. At one tournament, her attire was such an odd mix of colors and designs that observers were at a loss for words. The fashion critique didn't seem to affect Sabalenka at all, which is, in all honesty, the appropriate approach. Even if some of her dress choices suggest that she may benefit from a stylist, her goal is to play tennis, not win fashion prizes. Additionally, Gauff has had some dubious fashion moments, especially when it comes to some of the styles she has worn for Nike. One dress was so colorful and brightly luminous that it was painful to look at in the strong stadium lights. When Gauff later saw pictures of herself wearing that ensemble, she essentially asked herself, "What was I thinking?" She shared it on social media with a laughing emoji, demonstrating her ability to laugh at her own fashion errors. During the weather delays, both players have provided excellent content. Gauff is usually using her phone or chatting with her squad, occasionally making looks at the camera when she realizes it's on her. Sabalenka paces around during rain delays, acting as if the weather is personally upsetting her by interfering with her match. It's amusing to see how differently they manage downtime because it so perfectly captures their personalities. Gauff is calm and patient. Sabalenka is ready to fight the clouds for having the audacity to interfere with her tennis play. The fun these two bring to press conferences is underappreciated. Reporters are occasionally taken aback by Gauff's sharp wit. She will respond to a question with just enough irony to make you pause and think about whether or not she is being serious. Sabalenka is more direct, but even dull questions are made interesting by her excitement for everything. When you ask her about her serve, she gives you a 5-minute response that includes all of her body language and probably some sound effects. You get the same enthusiasm when you ask her what she had for breakfast. Everything is significant and interesting when Sabalenka talks about it. The final amusing difference between them is how they respond to setbacks. Gauff has a tendency to be philosophical about it, talking about her learning experiences and future goals. It's reasonable and mature. Sabalenka appears to want to fight everyone in the building. She doesn't act impolitely or disrespectfully, but her body language during post-match press conferences after defeats is just barely controlled frustration. She will answer questions, but it's obvious she would like to be anywhere else. Both approaches are sincere, but they have rather different energies. In addition to being tough rivals, Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka are two of the most hilarious tennis players. Tennis needs more players who don't take themselves too seriously. Whether it's Sabalenka's extravagant celebrations or Gauff's precisely timed reactions, these two things keep the sport interesting outside of the matches. For more humorous tennis content, click the like button and subscribe.